Okay, so let's make a start. Hi everybody, thanks for coming. Welcome to day 3, the final day of our Festival of the Future as part of Digital Leaders Week. So this is the final day, isn't it? And we're almost at the end of the day. So does that make us the headliners? I'm not sure. So the session will be recorded and is being recorded, just to let you know, and so will be available from the Dorset Council website during the week of the 19th of October, so that's next week. For those of you using Teams via the app, you can find some live captions if you'd prefer to read things as you go, and you can turn that on under the More Actions option. So can everybody see the screen, and can everybody see camp rules?
Yep.
Cool. Okay. So as I said, yeah, this session is recorded. Please turn off your mics and cameras until you're needed. If you've got any questions, please post those into the chat. We'll try and pick those up as we go, and we'll try and pick up as many as we can. Please do feel free to share on social media, and if you do so, please use the hashtag Futurefest, and I hope you enjoy the session. Okay, so what's this all about? Well, this session is to give a bit of a demonstration about our proof of concept that we've done using Alexa. So we've developed an Alexa skill that enables us to find out our bin day. So we'll show how an address can be linked to an Alexa account, and then what we'll do is show that the data that we already have available on our website and in our systems, in our applications, can then be used to answer that question back through Alexa. So as you'll see, we've been working with our friends at Amazon Web Services, AWS, and Firemind to put this proof of concept together. I'll be handing over to Ahmed, Managing Director at Firemind, in just a second to go through the demonstration. If we've got any techies watching, then we'll have a quick look under the bonnet as well to see how this is put together, and we can see how simple it is to be done and developed. And hopefully we'll get a working demonstration. I say hopefully, we're in the life of the technical gods then, as always with a live demonstration, but hopefully we'll be able to see a working demonstration in front of our very ears, so you can see it in action, or hear it in action, should we say. So all sounds good, or a little bit underwhelming? Yeah. So asking when your bin day. It's not going to set the world alight, but this is not just about bins. That isn't the case. It's not really about Alexa either. So what are the false pretenses that have got you here on? Well, like all things digital, this isn't about the technology. This is not about just playing with a new shiny toy, although that's quite fun anyway. But it's about what the technology can do for us. I was watching one of the Festival of the Future sessions earlier on with Mark Thompson, who was talking a lot about focus and leverage. And what he was explaining that as being is, this isn't about reinventing stuff. This isn't about reinventing the wheel. This isn't about building stuff from the ground up. Similar to companies like Uber or Amazon or Airbnb or Just Eat, they've not invented anything new. What they've done is joined a few things up using existing technologies just to create a new service offering. So what is this about? So this is about giving people another channel to interact with Dorset Council. This is about making it easier for people to communicate with us. This is about removing friction and removing as much friction as possible for people to consume our services. So for an example, our example is about answering the question of when's my next bin day. But this is really about opening the doors of that channel, and it's about us finding out what else we can use with that route. So for instance, this could be a parent, guardian or carer asking Alexa if their child has managed to get onto the school bus that morning. It could similarly be a parent, a guardian or a carer who's busy getting the kids ready in the morning to easily tell Dorset Council that their child with special education needs doesn't need their school transport that morning. So we currently have a huge problem at the moment where we have transport turning up to collect a child to take them to school, only to be told at that point that the child's not going in, which is obviously not efficient, and it costs money. So if we can remove as much friction as we can to allow people to let us know and communicate with us and consume services, then that's what we're after. So yep, this is not about just bins, and this is not just about Alexa. It's about opening those doors. So less talking from me, and I'll pass you over to Ahmed now. I'll just stop presenting, and hopefully, as I say, we'll get a live demo.
Thank you, Glenn. So yeah, my name is Ahmed. I am Managing Director here at Firemind, and we help a lot of organisations understand that actually the data and the systems they have are more than sufficient to help them improve how they interact with customers. And this is much more fitting, given the current times. We have to build back better, use what we have, etc. And what we try to do is to plumb stuff together to really help organisations, especially in the public sector, provide as much value for money for the taxpayer as possible, without having to go down these large and expensive ARP, digital transformation, things that cost hundreds, even millions of pounds that may not achieve what you're trying to do. So anyway, a really simple example here is to utilize something like Amazon Alexa or chatbots or voice bots in general. The beautiful thing about it is that there is already an existing platform. There's already apps that we can have on our phones. There's already hardware that we can buy. And the majority of people already have it. So the barriers to entry actually are very, very small. And really it's a case of thinking, how do you enable your organization to serve your customers through platforms like this? And this is where we kind of come into play. So I'll start off by talking about what the general gist of what we try to do is. So most organizations will start on the left-hand side, which is really kind of like their data, their systems, their infrastructure, everything that already exists, whatever that looks like. You have as much data as you probably need. It's probably unorganized, it's probably unstructured. That's okay. That doesn't mean it can't be used. What we then try to look at is how we can utilize access to that data using our tools that we can build on top of things that are provided by public cloud services such as Amazon AWS. The key thing here, and this is the really interesting part, is number 3. Now, number 3 is the most important part because this is where a lot of the business contextual knowledge is needed to define the intent, to almost define the routing, to make that decision tree, that kind of smart brain, so to speak, that will marshal your users' requests or their information into the correct areas to fit an existing workflow or to retrieve information from an existing system that you already have. And then number 4 is, again, these chatbot clients, Facebook Messenger, Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, WhatsApp, all these kind of things. These all exist. There's no need to write a new platform. There's no need to necessarily write a new chatbot or a new thing that has to exist. There are all these platforms that customers already have on their devices with them, sometimes 24/7, that they can utilize to kind of access these frontline services better. And that's where you can have the majority impact of customers. And then something that's very important to think about is that this new kind of dawning of these conversational clients means that people can interact without having to think about how they fill out forms, filling out large documents, trying to understand requests. It's more of a conversational manner. And something that a lot of organizations can fall into is the trap of user experience, whereby a form may make sense to us or to people inside the organization, but once those forms are used by real users, sometimes they can be a burden with problems like language or understanding or providing the correct description. Whereas what a lot of people like is this idea of an actual kind of conversing with something to do this kind of request. So this is why this kind of approach is very powerful. I'm just going to guide you through kind of the simple ways, a quick whistle-stop tour, so to speak, of the technical market. So the first thing that we start with is looking at data. And the way that we approach this, for example, with Dorset Council, is that they already had a system that allows people to come along and get information for them. So I'm just going to bring it into my screen now, show you what it looks like. So the majority of local authorities will have something similar to this, where I can come along with a postcode, I can enter a postcode, I can search, I can pick, my address, and then I can see the services that are available to me. I can see that I have collections, I can see planning applications, I can find out my councillors, local libraries, etc. There probably isn't a council in the UK that doesn't have something like this. Now, to make this more interactive, intent-based to your users, you can utilize this existing system and kind of take them a step forward. So let's think of how an Amazon Alexa flow would work. With things like this, the very first thing we have to do is we have to get the user's email address. So with our developer hats on, we do this concept called account linking. And what account linking does is that when you invoke a skill for the first time, Amazon Alexa will ask you, okay, this skill requires certain information about you, and will redirect the user to a website. In this case here, I'm going to show you a website that we put together very quickly that will illustrate what an account linking procedure looks like. Now, for the cases of this demo, I kind of have to show it on my machine because, again, for those not necessarily versed with Amazon Alexa, you would usually do account linking on a device that is linked to your Amazon account. So for all intents and purposes here, imagine this is happening on an iPhone. And the account linking procedure, again, is very simple. The majority of councils will have a tool where someone can enter some sort of address. They can go and find that address over a list, so to speak. And then from that address, they can pull the details and say, okay, this is my address. This is the address that I want to get information about. So ours is just loading up now. And this is just a really simple example, pretty much exactly the same as the My Dorset Council, where I've come along and I've defined on my phone, I've got my postcode. I can come along, I can enter it, I can get the response back when the request comes back. Okay, so I'm flat 2, and that's it. The device now knows that my address is flat 2 in Weymouth, DT4 4DE. And the magic here is that we haven't hooked into a new system. We simply use the existing system there. What that means now is as I go to my Alexa device, for example, and again, I'm just showing the kind of the purposes here. My Alexa device now will know information about me based on my account, and based on my interaction, any interaction that I'll do will be on that address. So in this example here, tap to it, we've got the Alexa console, so I can say, ask Dorset Council when my next day is. If we all cross our fingers and toes, this should hopefully...
Flat 2,
excellent.
66 to 67 the Esplanade, Weymouth, DT480 is having its rubbish and food waste bins emptied on the Friday the 23rd of October 2020.
I'm not sure if you heard that, but Alexa took the information I asked it, this question, that I programmed as an intent. It came to my skill. Because I'd already provided my address, the Alexa skill is able to go, from what we programmed, is able to go through this thing called Get the Bin Day. Again, go straight to the Dorset website, no weird databases, no weird APIs, everything already exists there. And all we've done is plumb all of that together rather than having Dorset Council take out, again, a new database, a new ARP system and provide that information back to the user. And we could go further than that. We could go further and, for example, provide access to any information that is provided on the Dorset website. So, for example, this skill could be extended to say what my nearest primary schools are. You could almost have this. You could also have this skill ask to report a missing connection. You know, where my children's centres are, who my MP is, who my counsellor is, etc. You know, specific information. And what's really nice about conversational items like this is that whereas a form is a specific request for a demand, you can capture a lot of intent through conversations. So, for example, if you know that customers are asking things about primary schools or children play areas, you can put them into a cohort that's probably interested in child services. And using Alexa devices, you can then send them notifications to say, hey, there's a new, children's festival that's happening in the park this weekend. Would you like Alexa to send you a link to your mobile phone to let you sign up? All these additional things can be added without having to take out all of these new systems that ultimately cost you guys money, public sector money, in a time when stuff is quite hard. So really, that's it. I'd like to end. We're offering 3-day webinars that are funded by Amazon. And these are deep dives. They're only for 2 hours a day. They are not very technical. They're probably as technical as I'm doing now. But they're really for business leaders to have a deep dive into voice and chatbots, again, using Amazon Alexa. Having better smart analytics using Amazon Web Services program called QuickSight. And leveraging artificial machine learning, again, using Amazon Web Services. All of these are fully catered towards public service providers. They're all free. You can sign up by visiting webinars.firemind.io. And then you can learn more about these tools and how they can help you as business leaders or technology leaders ultimately improve frontline services for your users. So that's it for me.
That's great, Ahmed. Thank you. And yes, the live demo worked. It's always a nerve-wracking time, isn't it, when we're trying to do something live and it's just you push the button and then fingers crossed, hopefully it does work. So yes, that did work. So thank you very much for showing us that. And as I said at the start, this isn't really about Alexa in itself, is it? This is not really about when's my next bin day. This is much more about opening that door of communication and making services much more accessible, much more available to people who want to consume them in that way. So as we said, we could be asking who our local councillor is. I don't know if you want to try and get that one up and running while I'm talking, Ahmed, or while we get any questions.
Let's do it now.
Just to put you on the spot. Just to put you on the spot. There you go. There's no pressure at all. But it's also things like, so what we've explained there is where we've got a static answer. So somebody asks a question and there's a static answer coming back. But I think the key is, well, what other doors does that open? So this could be raising a ticket in your service management system. This could be raising an incident in your highways system that reports a pothole. This could be raising some further workflow that notifies different various teams and what have you in the back office to let them know of some sort of question that's coming in or some sort of request or what have you. So this is far more than just about bins, and this is far more than just about Alexa. It really is about opening as many doors and many channels as possible. So I've been keeping an eye on the chat. I've not seen any questions coming in, so hopefully that means that's a good sign, and it means that you've answered all the questions that people have. But yeah, I see Claire, you're typing, so yeah, we'll hang on and see what your question is. But hopefully people can see that this is just a way that we can get this up and running, and it's quite simple. It's using data that's already there. So this is data either in our website or it's in our applications or in our systems, and it's just leveraging in that, as we said, just to connect some dots and just open a few or connect some various technologies. We're not inventing anything new, is what I'm trying to say. It's just making a new service offering available. So could this be used to make public service more accessible for people with learning disabilities?
100%, yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. And I think you can go beyond just learning difficulties, right? Like, I think a lot of people suffer from anxiety, especially given, you know, what's happening at the moment now. I think it's very, you know, some people find it very hard to get on the phone to contact services. So a lot of people appreciate the concept of being able to, you know, text a friend or text something and kind of receive. But ultimately, the point is that as long as you have the data, or as long as you have something set up so the request can be handled, then there's absolutely everything. You just have to plumb all the pipes together. And that's where we would come in and say, yes, you know, so yeah, 100%. And let's see here if this works, right? So Dorset Council.
Yeah. Sorry, I've put you on the spot and then asked you a question as well. So Claire, yeah, I think that absolutely is the case. I mean,
John Oral.
There we go.
There you go, live in front of our ears. Well done. So yeah, I was just going to say that obviously there's a huge array of learning disabilities. So yeah, I mean obviously it's going to be more helpful for some more than others, but absolutely this is adding a new channel, isn't it? This is adding a new way to communicate with the council. This is adding a new way to consume services. So yeah, if people are struggling with how it works on the internet or how it works, or like you say, if there's any anxiety over making a phone call or what have you, then this is just offering a new way of doing it, or another way of doing it, should I say?
Yeah, and the really interesting part is those kind of those additions. You know, I think it's very easy to have an app. It's something you have to download, whereas voice is quite natural. Being able to shout at a device or do it on your phone or do it in the car and receive notifications in the morning is a very nice, simple, elegant way to kind of deal with stuff like that.
Yeah, Claire, I don't know if you want to put your microphone and have a discussion over this. So it sounds like you've got specific examples that you're thinking of that this may help with. So yeah, feel free to put your microphone on and
so we're a sort of national charity that supports people with learning disabilities across England and Wales. And one of the big issues for people we support is being able to navigate public services. So finding out what activities and things are going on in the community, enabling them to be active citizens, really, not just and they really struggle where a lot of our supported living services have like devices like Alexa that they do use to speak to friends and family, and actually it would make public services more accessible, but also, you know, for them into control of it rather than a support worker finding out that information and it being secondhand, for them to be able to sort of get up in the morning and say, what's going on in my local community. I know all of that information are on council websites, but the people with support can't access that. It would be amazing, you know, and also to be able to support people in maintaining their tenancy. So knowing when the bins are collected and being able to access support in terms of that can alleviate maybe issues with people maintaining their tenancies that, you know, have difficulties having that support. So yes. I think it would be really, really good. I'm, you know, very interested to probably get some more information from Ahmed, because also, you know, in terms of us interacting with people we support as a charity, being able to have that interaction, because somebody we support wouldn't necessarily email the charity, but having that, you know, ability to do it from your own home would be fantastic.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think you should probably join our webinar, because I think a lot there will talk about the interactive part. So the webinar is split into three things, right? How you interact with them, with people, sorry. How you analyze what's happening, and that's the quick side, the business intelligence part. And the machine learning part is how we forecast. How we forecast based on interaction, based on how we're looking at it, what we think services need to be in the future. But 100%, you're absolutely right. And just a quick one for you, Tim. Again, you're absolutely right. So the reason why, and again, I remember explaining this to Dorset at the start, right? If I go back to my slides here, sorry, let me bring it up just a bit. So the reason why we don't try to say to you, put all your eggs in this one basket. The reason why we say actually you make a clear separation from point 3, which is your intent, with the voice clients. It means that way you're not bound to a specific device like Alexa or Google Assistant or whatever. And in fact, there's a number of great tools out there by different providers that all have very good ways to do fully open tools. The decision, I think, needs to be looked at through what consumers have. So, for example, there's no point building something for, Siri HomePods, right? Because they're actually very expensive and not very many people have that. Whereas the barrier to entry for, cheaper devices, you can pick up an Alexa Echo for 20 quid, right? Which is still a lot of money for some people, but the barriers are smaller. And the key thing, again, like Claire was saying, is making sure that the people who you're targeting, A, you know that there's data or services that can fill that, and B, you really understand that customer journey, and that's a really important part. It's this bit that's the kind of the inexpensive bit, so to speak, versus buying an entire platform and you paying hundreds of thousands, etc.
Yeah, and I think just to echo that point, no pun intended. But I think that's what we were saying when sort of given the examples of Uber or Airbnb and what have you. We're not reinventing anything. We're just using components that are already out there. So yeah, proprietary, it does lock you in, but we're not saying that we are just locked into this as an option. And as Ahmed says, if the way you architect it means that you've abstracted your brain that interprets the questions and the utterances and your intents of what you mean by those questions, if you abstract that away from the actual technology, then it means that you can reuse a lot of that